You are watching The Quiet War, a series about the World War II heroes history forgot. Not the famous names. The ones who should be. In this episode, the only man who ever volunteered to go to Auschwitz. September 1939. The world watches in horror as German tanks roll into Warsaw, unleashing a new kind of warfare. The Polish army, though valiant, is crushed in weeks by the overwhelming force of the Blitzkrieg. But amidst the chaos and despair, not everyone surrenders. Some choose to fight on in the shadows. Witold Pilecki was more than just a cavalry officer. He was a man deeply rooted in his homeland. A devoted husband to Maria and a loving father to his 2 young children. When his unit dissolved, he didn't retreat to the safety of home. Instead, he made a profound choice. He went underground. Within months, his leadership led him to co-found the secret Polish army, one of the very first resistance movements to emerge in occupied Europe. This was a testament to an unbreakable will. By 1940, a chilling problem began to emerge for the burgeoning resistance. Whispers, fragmented and terrifying, were coming out of the south of Poland. A former military barracks in Auschwitz, known to the Germans as Auschwitz, had been converted into something new, something sinister. It was a camp. But the rumors suggested it was not merely a prison camp. It was something far worse, a place shrouded in impenetrable secrecy. No one truly knew what horrors were unfolding behind its sealed gates. The Nazis ensured its operations remained a dark mystery. It was in this climate of fear and uncertainty that Pilecki proposed a plan so audacious, so utterly beyond conventional warfare, that it still sounds like fiction today. He would deliberately get himself arrested. He would walk willingly into the maw of the beast. His mission was clear: to infiltrate Auschwitz, to uncover the truth of what was happening inside, to organize resistance among the prisoners, and crucially, to get reports out to the free world. His commanders, faced with the sheer impossibility and suicidal nature of the proposal, initially said no. It was too dangerous, they argued. The chances of survival were infinitesimally small. But Pilecki insisted. His conviction was absolute. He believed this was the only way to truly understand the enemy's intentions. His resolve ultimately swayed his superiors. In September 1940, during one of the infamous Warsaw Street roundups, a Łapanka, where civilians were indiscriminately seized by German forces, Pilecki calmly allowed himself to be caught. He walked into the back of a truck not as a victim, but as a volunteer. He was surrounded by strangers, their faces etched with fear and confusion. He had no idea if he would ever emerge from the darkness that awaited him. The cost, the personal sacrifice, was immense. He left behind his beloved wife, Maria, and their 2 young children. Knowing he might never see them again, he confided his true mission to no one but his commanding officer. To the rest of the world, including his own family, Witold Pilecki simply vanished. They believed him dead. Auschwitz in 1940 was not yet the industrialized death factory it would become. But make no mistake, it was already hell on earth. Prisoners were subjected to unimaginable brutality, beaten for the slightest infraction. They slept on thin straw mattresses, 3 men crammed into a bunk designed for 1. Food was a meager ration of watery soup and moldy bread, barely enough to sustain life. Disease, rampant and unchecked, spread like wildfire. Death was not an exception. It was a daily, hourly occurrence. Amidst this dehumanizing environment, Pilecki did something almost inhuman in its discipline and foresight. He paid attention. He observed everything. He memorized faces, names, the intricate routines of the guards, the layout of the camp. He meticulously learned which capos could be trusted, those few who retained a shred of humanity, and which ones would betray their fellow prisoners for an extra crust of bread or a moment of reprieve. Within a mere few months, through sheer force of will and incredible discretion, he built an underground network inside the camp. He called it ZOW, the Union of Military Organizations. It was structured with military precision. Cells of 5 men each, designed for maximum security. Only the leader of a cell knew the leader of the next. This compartmentalization was vital. If 1 man was captured and tortured, he could only betray 4 others. Through incredible ingenuity and courage, they began to smuggle out reports. The first detailed accounts reached the Polish resistance in 1941. These early reports described gas chambers, not yet operating on a mass scale, but already experimental, a chilling harbinger of what was to come. They described the horrific shootings at the Black Wall, the systematic starvation, the medical experiments, and the sheer scale of the atrocities. Pilecki's messages were desperate pleas for help, begging for weapons, for airdrops, for someone to bomb the rail lines leading to Auschwitz to disrupt the flow of victims. The Allies received these harrowing reports. They landed in London, in Washington. But tragically, they didn't act. The reasons are complex and still debated by historians. Auschwitz was too far too deep behind enemy lines. Or perhaps, and this is a more disturbing possibility, they simply couldn't believe it. The numbers were too vast, the evil described too absolute. The world struggled to accept the truth that Pilecki was risking his life to reveal. Despite the crushing silence from the outside world, Pilecki kept organizing. He became a beacon of hope within the darkness. He celebrated Mass in secret, offering spiritual solace to his fellow prisoners. He shared his meager rations of bread with the dying, a profound act of humanity in a place designed to strip it away. He planned relentlessly, always with the hope that if the resistance from outside ever came, he and his network would be ready. And if they never came, he resolved he would try to break out anyway, to continue his fight. By 1943, after nearly 3 years of unimaginable suffering and tireless resistance, he knew no one was coming to liberate them. The reports had been sent, the pleas had been made, but the world remained deaf to the cries from Auschwitz. On the night of April 26, 1943, Pilecki, along with 2 other brave members of his network, executed a daring escape. They overpowered a guard, cut the phone lines to prevent immediate alarm, and slipped out into the vast, terrifying darkness. They ran for their lives, fueled by desperation and an unyielding will to survive. They stole bread from a farmhouse to sustain themselves and walked for days, navigating treacherous terrain, until they finally reached resistance-safe houses. Witold Pilecki was the first person to escape Auschwitz and survive to tell the world, not just as a survivor, but as an eyewitness with meticulous documented proof. The cost. The escape left him physically shattered. He weighed less than 90 pounds, his body ravaged by starvation and disease. His teeth were falling out, a stark testament to the brutal conditions. He had watched countless friends die beside him. Upon his escape, Pilecki immediately set about writing his comprehensive report. It was a meticulous, chilling document. Over 100 pages filled with names, dates, detailed diagrams of the camp, precise descriptions of the gas chambers, the horrific medical experiments conducted by SS doctors, and the systematic executions. It was the first truly comprehensive first-hand account of Auschwitz to reach the Western Allies, a document of unparalleled historical significance. The report landed in London, it landed in Washington, and then nothing. Why you don't know him? The answer lies in the shifting sands of post-war geopolitics. By the war's end, the Soviet Union had become a crucial ally against Nazi Germany. And Pilecki's report contained something deeply inconvenient for the emerging political narrative. It explicitly mentioned that the Soviets had taken Polish land. Pilecki was unequivocally anti-Nazi, a hero of the resistance, but he was also fiercely anti-communist. After the war, when Poland, despite its immense sacrifices, became a Soviet puppet state, Witold Pilecki became a problem for the new regime. He returned to Poland in 1945 not to fight a war that was officially over, but to gather intelligence on the new occupiers, the communists. He believed his country, having just thrown off one totalitarian yoke, was now falling under another. He was arrested in 1947 by the communist secret police. The word torture is not used lightly here. He was subjected to brutal beatings, prolonged starvation, and relentless interrogations. They wanted names, they wanted confessions, they wanted him to implicate others. He gave none. He endured unimaginable suffering. In 1948, after a sham trial, a show trial designed to eliminate political opposition, Witold Pilecki was condemned. The man who had survived the horrors of Auschwitz, who had volunteered to face death for his country, was executed by firing squad. By his own countrymen, by the very government that claimed to represent the Polish people. His family was cruelly informed only that he had been a traitor. His grave has never been found, his final resting place a secret kept by the regime that murdered him. For 50 long years, the communist government systematically erased him from history. Schoolchildren never learned his name. His heroic reports, once a desperate cry for help, sat buried in archives, unread, his legacy deliberately suppressed. But after the fall of communism in 1989, Poland began the slow, painful process of remembering its true heroes. In 2006, Witold Pilecki was posthumously awarded the Order of the White Eagle, Poland's highest honor, a belated but significant recognition of his extraordinary courage. Museums now dedicate rooms to his memory. Books have been written, documentaries produced, slowly bringing his story back into the light in his homeland. But in the West, his name, his incredible sacrifice, remains largely unknown. Here's what Witold Pilecki did. He walked into hell with his eyes wide open, fully aware of the risks. He built a resistance movement inside a death camp, a place designed to crush the human spirit. He told the world what was happening, providing irrefutable evidence of the Holocaust. And when the world did nothing, when his pleas for intervention went unanswered, he escaped to try again, to continue his fight for freedom and truth. Then, in a cruel twist of fate, he was murdered by the very people he had fought to free. He was 47 years old when he died, a life cut short, but a legacy that should echo through history. There is no statue of Witold Pilecki in London, no memorial in Washington, but there should be. Because his story proves something profound, something we often find uncomfortable to confront. Sometimes the heroes aren't the ones who win. Sometimes they're the ones who go in, knowing they might not come out, and they go anyway. They embody a commitment to humanity that shines brightest in the darkest of times. The war had millions of names. Most of them we never learned. This was one of them. Next time, another quiet hero from 1939, a leader who kept Poland alive when Poland didn't exist. Subscribe and hit the playlist so you don't miss it.